Wait, stop right there. What is this doing here? I know it's a railroad, but if you watch the first 11 episodes of Season 1 of 86, you won't find any trains. Yup, not a single one. Doesn't that make you wonder, what then is the purpose of showing a railroad over and over again? You see, the railroad is intended to be a metaphor, a visual representation of the concept of moving forward. This idea is repeated at least 14 times in some shape or form by various characters in the first 11 episodes of Season 1. Now, in the previous video, we explored the theme of death. The idea was that unless you know what you will die for, you won't know what to live for. But now that you know what you will live for, the question is, how will you move forward past various obstacles to get there? To answer this question, we'll be looking at how characters in 86 overcame seemingly insurmountable challenges to achieve their goals. How did they move forward when they were denied their freedom? How did they move forward from traumatic events in the past? We'll be exploring all these questions today, so join me as I unpack practical insights from 86 to help you improve your life and relationships. What does moving forward actually mean? In the context of the anime, there are actually two definitions of moving forward. The first definition of moving forward is to progress in a certain chosen direction. We can see this in episode 8 when Shin explains to Lena that by embarking on the special recon mission, the 86 were finally following the path they wanted to follow, to the place they wanted to go, and that they can finally be free. After their final battle with Shode, the 5 remaining 86 discuss if it is safe to go forward, and how they could take any route they want, since they were moving forward on their own as far as they could go. Later, even Fido, their autonomous robot helper, nags the group to stop talking and keep moving forward. So how does the anime flesh out this idea? As mentioned, the anime cleverly uses the symbol of a railroad to express this motif, and it does so right there in the opening scene of episode 1. Now imagine you were traveling forward on the tracks. You can either move forward by your own will, or you can be pushed forward by external forces. At the start of the series, Shin and the 86 have no choice but to move forward. In episode 1, the scene is at night, when the path ahead on the railroad is dark and ominous. From the rear, their handler commands them to charge the enemy, and from the front they are mercilessly attacked by a horde of legion. In other words, they are sandwiched between a rock and a hard place. They are on a one-way track, and there is nowhere they can escape to. Hence, they are not really moving forward by their own will, and they can't choose which direction to move forward. So with all the odds stacked against them, could the 86 even dream of being free? In other words, how did the 86 manage to move forward? Now the anime shows us that even though the 86 couldn't choose how to move forward in their external world, they managed to make that choice in their internal world. Despite their dire situation, they found the power to choose their own way of living and dying. How did they do that? To find out, we have to first explore the idea of power. Well, what is power? Now, most people think it's about attaining a certain position or the ability to pressure others to bend to one's wishes. But why do people do all that? It is essentially to gain a sense of self-worth. You see, power is like one of those carnival mirrors. The more insecure you are, the more distorted you want the image to be, because you don't like how you actually look. But the truth is, everyone has a need for power, a need to feel worthy and valuable. And the good news is that sense of self-worth can be cultivated by valuing ourselves independently of external validation. In other words, your self-worth doesn't depend on your sense of vanity, but on your sense of identity. Look at it this way. If you don't need others to tell you who you are, then you won't mind others telling you who you aren't. Sounds fuzzy? Well, let's have my boy Jay Lee break it down for us. In a realm where freedom was bound, the 86 their own identities found. Unshackled from Republic decree, they embraced their own individuality. The Republic withheld liberty, but the 86 retained their integrity. No need for others to dictate who they be, they define themselves, bold and free. So smash that like button, make it shine, a virtual high five from your hand to mine. Therefore, that strong sense of identity and self-worth fuel their power and autonomy to decide what kind of person they wanted to be. But how could the 86 remain so confident and secure even after the Republic had taken everything from them? The Jewish Austrian psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl explained this conundrum well when he said that forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except one thing: your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation. You cannot control what happens to you in life, but you can always control what you will feel and do about what happens to you. Raiden echoed Frankel's sentiments when he explained to Lena that there were good and bad 86, but those in Spearhead Squadron all decided which they wanted to be. Just because scum treats you like scum, doing the same makes you no better. Raiden explained the 86's philosophy in a simple way. If the only two paths are to die fighting the Legion or to die giving up, we'll survive to the last moment and go down fighting. That's the reason we fight. That's the source of our pride. Why not just give up? Because even if you know you're going to the gallows, you can choose how you're going to climb up there. We've made our choice. All we have to do now is survive. In the same way, Anju and Kurena recalled the oath that Spearhead Squadron swore to each other at the start, that no matter who called them pigs, they would never let themselves become them. And even if they were the last one, they would fight until the last day. So the idea is that in any given situation, we always have some kind of choice. It all depends on what we choose to choose. In the case of the 86, they moved forward by choosing to fight and die with honor. But perhaps it was Grease, the captain of the Mantis in Jedi Survivor, who said it best. We all know it's a rigged game, but we choose how to play. Therefore, when the 86 finally leave the Republic in Episode 9, all that has changed is their external circumstances, but their internal mindset has always been the same. The only difference is that they are now free to move forward in both their external and internal worlds. We see this at the end of the series, when the railroad scene is now bright and clear, when the 86 embark on their special recon mission. The 86 can now move forward, but this time they are free to advance wherever they choose, free from Republic control. Now, I mentioned that there are actually two definitions of moving forward in the anime. The first one is to progress in a certain chosen direction. We now know how the 86 did that. So what else does it mean to move forward? In the anime, the second meaning of moving forward is to find closure for a past event that is still hurting you now. And if there's one person who needs closure, it's Shin, who also faces a problem with moving forward. But why? Well, Shin is enslaved by the genocidal 86 system, and he is unable to imagine a life outside the military. The cracked mirror reflects his fractured psyche. The cramped room at the barracks symbolizes his confinement within a prison, while the white rag he wears is an attempt to cover up an old wound that has never really healed. It serves to hide the scars from the strangle marks inflicted by his brother. But what does the white rag really mean? It has two meanings. First, it is a visual reminder to Shin and the audience of the emotional pain he suffers from assuming that his brother still blames him for the death of their parents, and his own death on the front lines. Second, the rag represents the stranglehold that the past has on Shin, his unfinished business preventing him from finding closure and moving forward. As a result, Shin cannot remember his family's faces or voices due to the trauma he experienced as a child when his brother tried to strangle him. But either way, Shin needs to find closure with his brother to move forward in life. As he explained to Lena, we'll need to fight to move forward because my brother is a shepherd. I can't go anywhere without killing him. But is destroying Shode going to magically make everything okay? Something tells me it's not quite so simple. So how exactly did Shin manage to find closure and move forward? You see, finding closure in life is like coming to the final chapter of a book, where all the loose ends are tied up, questions are answered, and a sense of resolution is achieved. So what were some loose ends that Shin needed to tie up? There are three of them. Loose end number one. First, to find closure, we need to focus on why we want to find closure and not be distracted by emotional wounds, egoistic pride, or erratic doubts. When Shin fights Shode, Shin relieves the incident of being strangled by Shode and only breaks free when Lena reminds him of his reason for fighting. Shaken out of his hallucination by Lena, Shin tears off the rag from his neck, symbolizing his mental and emotional liberation from the imagined guilt his brother laid on him. Only then is he finally able to defeat Shode. In other words, we need to keep our eye on the prize and remember why finding closure is important to us in the first place. So if I want to reconcile with a friend that hurt me, I got to look past the hurt to forgive them if I think our friendship is more important. It doesn't excuse the wrong that was done to me, but it sets me free from the chains of bitterness and resentment. If I made a mistake and want to reconcile with my partner after an argument, it's better to lay down my pride and start with, "Look, I'm an idiot," instead of excuses like, "Look, I only did that because..." Let me know in the comments if you have a personal experience like that. I know I have. Loose end number two. Second, to find closure, we need to recognize that sometimes the doorway to the past is fitted with heavy double doors, and it's easier to find closure when two people come together to close that door. In Shode's final moments, Shin experiences his brother's love when Shode reaches out a loving hand towards him and apologizes to Shin. The liquid micro-machine hands gently caress his face instead of strangling him, and Shode says, "I'm sorry." Released from the guilt of his brother's condemnation, Shin experiences a poignant moment of emotional catharsis and breaks down as the memories of his brother's kind face and tender voice come flooding back to him. Hence, by experiencing his brother's love, Shin finally finds closure and is now able to move forward, putting this chapter to rest behind him. Sometimes it might be worth taking a difficult step to connect with those who have hurt us, because that opens the door to forgiveness and reconciliation. You might find that they never meant to hurt you in the first place, or they have changed their attitude towards you and are in search of your forgiveness themselves. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It's not going to be easy, and it requires vulnerability, humility, and a willingness to extend grace. It's going to be tough to find the courage to speak to them. Let me know in the comments if you've got any tips on that. But on the upside, you're creating an opportunity for restoration, personal transformation, and the potential for stronger relationships. And even if they don't respond in the way we hope, we can find solace in knowing that we did our part and that we took the high road and chose compassion. Because closure is not just about finding peace with others, it's about finding peace within ourselves. In the quest for closure, take a leap that's bold. Connect with those who hurt you, let the story unfold. For healing and forgiveness may be tough to start, but when you're reaching out, a fresh start you impart. Loose end number 3. Lastly, we need to understand that finding closure is not so much about repressing something in our mind as it is about reframing something in our mind. After the battle, Shin no longer wears his rag around his neck to hide his scars, implying that he has found closure with his brother. He starts to laugh and smile again. He wears his rag on his arm instead of his neck to remind him of his brother, not as a source of pain around his neck, but a source of strength around his arm. As a result, Shin is now able to move on with the other surviving 86 into uncharted territory with their newfound freedom. This freedom is symbolized by the birds flying away and the peaceful and scenic countryside they discover. My friend, I hate to say it, but some scars will never go away. As a psychiatrist and developer of choice theory, William Glasser observed, all long-lasting psychological problems are relationship problems, and the problem relationship is always part of our present life. Many times, the scars we have are so intricately tied to the people that we love that it's impossible to forget one without ditching the other as well. In those cases, perhaps, if we can learn to change how we think about that event or that person, we can change how we feel about them as well. In other words, while we can't change the past, we can change our perspective of the past. Changing our perspective doesn't mean denying the pain or pretending that everything was perfect. It means acknowledging the hurt, the disappointments, the struggles, but also recognizing that they have the power to mold us into stronger, more compassionate people. So instead of a shackle, every trial, every challenge, and every setback is reshaped into a stepping stone, a chapter in our lives' story that has brought us to where we are today. When we shift our perspective, we liberate ourselves from the burdens of our past. We open our hearts to forgiveness, healing, and the possibility of a brighter future. Just like the conclusion of a well-crafted narrative, tying up these 3 loose ends provides a sense of fulfillment and completeness. As we close the chapter on our past, we can find hope in the knowledge that our story is not limited to what has already been written, that we can turn the page and embrace the potential of new beginnings. Now, choosing the path they wanted to follow and finding closure was all well and good for the 86 and Shin. But what about Lena? Well, what about Lena? Ironically, the dilemma is that while the solutions adopted by the 86 and Shin seemed promising, they also created a new problem for Lena to deal with. Because when the 5 remaining 86ers move forward out of Republic territory, they also move away from Lena. In Shin's final parting words to Lena in episode 9, he simply uttered, "We're going on ahead, Major." Unfortunately, to move forward also means to leave behind. As we make progress, there is always something or someone we leave behind, and we can't do one without also doing the other. But what does it actually mean to be left behind? In the context of 86, it is simply to suffer the loss of beloved companions, as if part of your heart has been ripped out, leaving behind a painful void. Sadly, we could be left behind in many ways. Perhaps we get dumped in the wake of a painful breakup. Perhaps a dear friend moves away to another city. Maybe a respected mentor at work retires or leaves for another company. Or maybe we face the heart-wrenching loss of someone dear to us. In Lena's case, a profound sadness engulfed her soul, her heart burdened by the realization that the final 586s, like elusive phantoms, had forever vanished from her life, leaving a deep emptiness that filled her spirit with lonely sorrow. I guess the paradoxical question is, how did Lena then move forward when she was the one who was left behind? The good news is 86 shows us not just one but two ways of how those who are left behind can move forward. Way number one, don't waste your pain. The first way is to choose not to waste our pain. By the end of episode 11, Lena is no longer naive but well informed about the true nature of the systemic racism in the Republic, having learned the painful truth from her uncle and Annette. Though she got off to a rocky start, she now knows how to win the trust and respect of 86ers as a handler. Lena has also learned her lesson from losing so many 86ers in battle, and has grown into a resolved pragmatist who will do whatever it takes to help the 86. As a result, she resolves to keep walking and live up to the hopes of the departed 86 who believed in her. However, the unfortunate thing is that most people don't approach their hardships like Lena. As author Rick Warren observed, most people waste their suffering. They don't profit from their problems, they don't learn from their losses, they don't harvest their hurts, they don't improve from their injuries, they don't advance from their adversity, they don't gain from their pain. Your pain has a purpose, my friend. Don't let it go to waste. Look for the wisdom buried within them. What did you learn about yourself? How did you overcome adversity? What insights did you gain? Let me know your answers in the comments. But the point is to let your past experiences be a guide, not a burden. Don't let your pain define you. Let it fuel you. Embrace the lessons, apply the wisdom, and let them guide you towards a more fulfilling future. Way number two, honor their hopes, live out their legacy. The second way to move forward when you're left behind is to allow the spirit of those we have lost to live on in our lives as we honor their hopes and live out their legacy. This is undoubtedly more painful and therefore harder to do. How does Lena do it? In episode 11, as Lena read the letter left behind by the 5 remaining 86ers, she was empowered by the faith they had in her, and with a renewed sense of purpose, she decided that just like the 86, she could keep walking too. Eventually, Lena carried out the wishes of the final 586 of Spearhead Squadron and continued to fight alongside the new Spearhead Squadron, moving forward with purpose because Shin and his friends believed that about her until the very end. In the same way, an emotional scene in Steven Spielberg's World War II movie Saving Private Ryan shows us what it means to honor those we have lost. In that film, Captain John Miller, played by Tom Hanks, and his squad are tasked with finding Private James Ryan, played by Matt Damon, and bringing him home safely after his 3 brothers are killed in action. Towards the end of the movie, after facing numerous challenges and losses, Miller and his squad finally locate Ryan. In a heartfelt moment as he lay dying, Miller, knowing the price that was paid to find Ryan, imparts a short but powerful message to him.
Earn this.
Serving as a poignant reminder for Ryan to honor the bravery and selflessness of his comrades by making the most of the life he was given. Now, even though the 86 did not sacrifice their lives to save Lena, the essence of both scenes are the same. We recognize the importance of living our lives to the fullest as an expression of gratitude and respect for those who have played a vital role in helping us to move forward. Just like Ryan, Lena carries the torch of those who have impacted her journey, and she resolved to honor their memory and the lessons they have imparted through her future actions and choices. So as we remember those who have departed, we honor their hopes by embracing their dreams and desires as our own. The loss of someone we love or respect can ignite a desire within us to lead a more meaningful and deliberate existence, driven by the profound impact they had on our lives. As we recall the legacy entrusted to us and the confident hopes that these people had for us, we can find within us the courage and tenacity needed to press forward. So, what are some of the ways we can do this? It all comes down to one question. What do you need to do to move forward in life? Author Rick Warren recognized that we make our choices, then they make us. You can control whether something makes you bitter or better. Whether it is exercising the power of choice, finding closure for past hurts, or building on our past experiences, moving forward empowers us to decide how we want to use the past and the present to shape our future. We will no longer be victims of our circumstances, not quite masters of our destinies, but wave-wrangling surfers skillfully shaping our course through every swell and shift in the sea of life. My friend, it's not going to be easy, but hey, nothing worth doing ever came easy. But the gain will definitely be worth the pain. So here are 3 simple steps you can take to set you in motion on your path ahead. Number 1. What is one obstacle stopping you from moving forward in one area of your life? Number 2. Look into yourself. What are you choosing to focus on? Where are your current choices taking you? Are they effective at helping you move forward? Number 3. What is one different step you can take today that will help you overcome that obstacle? Now, Lena and Shin might have cleared away all the obstacles we talked about and were ready to move forward. But in the midst of all that action, they also revealed another secret. The secret to someone you can't. Did you catch it? If not, watch this alluring video and maybe you won't be moving forward alone if you get my drift. And if you've enjoyed this video, hit subscribe and click that bell for more insights from the world of anime to help you improve your life and relationships.